Hey guys, welcome to the Rusty Beauty's Garage and to our 1971 Triumph TR6 called Franken car. Don't poke my eyes. Oh, that's uncomfortable. Okay, let me come out. So we already have 8 episodes, 9 episodes, I don't know how many episodes about this car, in which we dealt with the entire body, which was pretty bad when it came. The front end was barely attached to the car in a totally wrong place. So anyways, we dealt with that, we fixed the whole front end, we replaced both seals now, left and right, and we dealt with the rear valance as well, which had a little bit of rust, but in general this car was very well preserved. Other than the valance and the seals, there was no rust anywhere else. Even the inner seals, the floors, everything was pretty well preserved. Just surface rust like here and there, but that's normal for a 54 years old car. So in this episode today we're gonna dive under the car and we're gonna deal with some issues there. We have to reinforce the differential mounts, which are known to be cracking, on the frame. And we also have to fix a rusty hole on the frame that I missed before. And then we'll see if we have more time in this episode. We're probably gonna take the body off, or we're gonna see what we're gonna do, but we have to do something about the gaps behind the rear door because these keep changing and I don't like that. Something is happening here. But we'll see if we're gonna have time for that in this episode or not. Let's start with the differential mount. So without further ado, let's get crack-locking. So here are the differential mounts, and these are very often the reason for a clunk that you can hear from your rear end, because this one on the right very often cracks, like right here, because the design is not great, And usually the one on the right goes first, and if you don't pay attention to it, then the one on the left cracks as well, but usually it starts with the one on the right. These ones are good, but since we are here, we're gonna reinforce them. So, all right, so I needle scaled a little bit, as much as I could up there, and then put thrust converter on it, and now we're gonna let it soak there, let it do its magic, and we're gonna come in the meantime and fix this hole, which I forgot about. And maybe here, I don't know. Let's needle scale here as well, actually, and see how much of this is also a problem, because I have the feeling that this is a problem as well, this for sure. So all right, that is a little bit worse than expected. Like, I knew there was a hole on the outside, but I was hoping at least this layer to be in a good shape, but it turns out it's not. As usual, when you see a little bit of rust on the outside, this means inside it's a mess. So here as well, I'm gonna cut a little bit and we'll see if there's more mess than what I can see, but the needle scaler didn't go through here. So anyway, let's cut this out. Wow, look at that. I love this chair. Okay. Wow, look at that. There's lots of, like, it's funny how the metal turns into multiple layers when it starts corroding. So Let me needle scale that, but I have the feeling that I'm gonna have to remove the whole patch from here and cut through the ribs here. I didn't want to cut through these ribs, but I might need to. I don't know. Let me needle scale this as well. You know what? I'm a little bit concerned here now, because now our car is hanging in the air and this is becoming a weak spot. So right now the weight of the rear of the car is pushing down. This is the pivoting point, or what is it called, like fulcrum, because of the sides. So the rear of the frame is pushing down and this is trying to go up. So now this weak spot is causing more trouble than what we expected. So I don't want to cut any more of that without any support in the back. I think we should remove the whole t-shirt, and we're gonna have to make a new one because I don't have one and I don't have time to wait for a new one. Yeah, we're gonna have to make another one. We can make all these on the bead roller, right? But again, while we are fixing this, we're gonna have a support under the back of the frame at all times, because if the frame is sagged down a little bit in the back and we weld it here and we reinforce it as it is sagged, then that's gonna be a problem. But if we raise the rear end a little bit, make the gaps on the doors smaller than what we think they need to be, and then weld here and then let it sag again, that's gonna be good. We're gonna do all that with the two shims in the back, and if after that, when we put it on the ground, the gaps become too small, then we're gonna have two shims in the back that we can play with. We can remove one and let the body go down a little, but we want the frame to be a little bit higher than where it is right now. I think this is our problem here, where our flex in the frame originates. So I guess we're gonna do this before the differential mounts. You know what? Let's do something. I have an idea. Let's do some checks before we go any further. Before we cut any more of what we've cut there, why don't we check the current state of the frame and see if it is hanging down here a little bit in the back or not. We can improvise a little bit, because normally you would do that as the frame is on jack stands on a perfectly leveled floor, and then you drop measurements from certain points to the floor and you check the straightness of your frame, the straightness or the flatness of your frame. And for that you use this drawing that is in the manual. Be careful, attention please. And obviously this is the side view of the frame, and we have a datum line from this point here to here, and all these measurements are based on our datum line. So from the datum line to the top of the frame here, from the datum line to the differential mounts, the rear ones, the front ones, etc., etc. Obviously we can't do that because we have the body on the frame, but what if we drop the datum line underneath? We can just transfer it down. So if we let's look at the measurements underneath. I'm just going to bring it up. So this is 53 and 54 measurements, which is here 53 and 54. That surprises me because I always thought that the frame needs to be perfectly horizontal. Turns out that our front is a little bit higher than the rear, because 53 is 6.06 inches and 54 is 6.53 inches. So if our datum line is horizontal, then this point is half an inch lower than this point, which is interesting. And these points are, this is just a little bit in front of the rear mounts, and this one is just where in front of where these two sections meet. So we can measure how thick the frame is, which I'm assuming it was 4 inches. Let me measure actually. The frame is 3 inches, so that tells me that from the datum line to here we have 9.5 inches, and here we have 9 inches. So if we draw another datum line underneath, 12 inches below this one, that's going to give us measurements from the datum line up. So here we have 6.5 plus 3 is 9.5. So we have another 2.5 from the new datum line to the frame, and here we're going to have 3 inches from the new datum line to the frame. And then we can come back here and measure the height of these holes. So 59, where is 59? I have no idea why I have two measurements for 59. One is 494, the other one is 481. It is pretty close, but I don't know. And 60 is 538. So 59 and 60 are from the datum line to the center of a hole here. We have a hole on the frame, and 60 is again from the datum line to another hole here that we have. So if we subtract the value of 59 and 60 from the 12 inches between the old and the new datum line, that's going to give us the height from the new datum line to the center of the hole here and to the center of the hole here. You know what I mean? And how can we do that? Well, I guess we can use my laser level for that. First of all, we're going to use it to make sure that the frame is level. If we have to, we can use some shims under the pads of the lift and my transmission jack, so we can raise a little bit the body here and there. We will see what we can put there, like pieces of sheet metal and stuff, until we are happy with how level the frame is. And then we're just gonna run a laser line to 3 inches below the front part of the frame, and then we're gonna see if the rear part of the frame is at 2.5 inches, and also how high these holes are. Let me show you which holes they are talking about. These two holes. So we have a measurement for this hole and we have a measurement for this hole. They are not in a great shape, but we can still find where the center is. But imagine if we have the laser line here, we can take a measuring tape and measure from here to the laser line. So let me get ready for that. Wow. How did I do it? Like, I just slammed this here, and let me show you. Without any preparations, it is right in the middle of the frame, like almost where we want it. So now I can go and take some measurements between left and right and between the front and the back. Yeah, it's pretty level actually. Look at this. Okay, look at this point here and the same point there. It is pretty good here. Even here and here. So it is pretty level in this direction, but we're gonna go and check the front as well. Actually, I might lower the line a little bit so I can see it all the way there. Let me do that. But look at that. So the line is going right through the, I hope you can see that. The line is going right through the t-shirt here and right at the weld of the t-shirt right here and right here. So that's telling me that we are perfectly square in this direction. Okay, so I'm gonna lower the laser now by another 3 inches because now I'm pretty much here. Okay, so now right here in front of the t-shirt we said this should be 2.5, half inch lower than there, right? And we said 2.5, so I need to raise it more. But I'm curious now to measure here. Now it's showing me 2.5 here and 2.5 here. This is an 8 less than 3. So let me raise it by half an inch because we said we need to be 2.5 here and 3 there. Okay, That's exactly 2.5 here, 2.5 here, and this is 2 1/8. So we need to raise the front end by 1 inch. Okay, don't be alarmed. We've done that before. We're not gonna lose the balance, don't worry. Okay, I just realized that you probably don't see much, so I moved you. Okay, perfect. Now here we are, a little bit over, and here we are a little bit over, like a 16th maybe. And here we are a little bit over 2.5, which tells me that if we raise the line by 1/16, we're gonna be perfect everywhere. Perfect. Okay. Oh shit, now we can see the line here. Why can't we? We're too close. I can kind of see it. Okay. We're not too close, but it's dim. Can I turn the light off? Ah, now we have a line. So let's measure to the front hole here from the center, 4 5/8. Can you remember that? 4 5/8. And this hole, okay, here we don't see the line. I'm gonna have to move it. Okay, let's try with this hole that we see for now. 4 5/8. Let me measure the other side. Good, 4 5/8 as well. Okay, so our measurement 60 is 5.38. Subtract that from 12 inches, because now we're measuring from the bottom up, 6.6, right? And we only have 4 5/8, so 4.6, let's say. So we're missing 2 inches. That's impossible. That is totally impossible. So something is wrong here. Let's do the same with measurement 59. 59 is 4.94. Go with 5 inches. So from the top line to the center of the rear hole is 5 inches. So that gives us another 7 from the bottom line to the hole. So let's measure that, but we need to rearrange the whole laser thingy now. Okay, so I rearranged the laser, pulled it back a little bit, reconfirmed that we still have 2.5 and 3 inches there. And what do we have here now? We have 5. Exactly 5. So how high this needs to be? Wow. That is not possible. I think my new datum line is not in the right place somehow. It's way too much. So I'm gonna think about it a little bit and I'll bring you back. Okay, here's my new idea. Obviously, somehow by lowering these 2 points down doesn't give me the correct datum line. I want to find a more precise way to drop this datum line 12 inches down. So why don't we go with the original reference points, which are right here. You see it goes through the center of the upper hole for the engine mount. That's the front end of the datum line. And here in the back, I can't really tell what is the reference point. So we're gonna take the differential mount. The front differential mount needs to be measurement 65, whatever the value of measurement 65 is, lower than the datum line. 65 is 1.34 to 1.28. So let's go with 1.3 inches. So we know that the datum line, the original one, is 1.3 inches above the differential mount. If we want to lower the datum line by 12 inches, we have to be 10.7 below the front differential mount and 12 inches below the upper hole, the center of the upper hole for the engine mount. Okay, here I had to clamp my ruler between the centers of the two upper holes for the engine mounts, like this, because otherwise I can't drop a line down there. But now I can measure from the upper edge of the ruler down, and that is 13.5, and that should be 12. So all these shims that we put here are not necessary. But let's see the rear ones. Here we said we need 10.7, whatever that is in fraction, and we are at only 10. So our datum line is not anywhere near where we want it to be. Okay, so I'm gonna play a little bit with the car to make this measurement 10.7 and that one 12, and then we're gonna go from there. But then for sure the measurement here is not gonna match, but we will see. We will measure again. So I'm not gonna hold you here for that. I'm gonna arrange it on my own and I'll bring you back. Okay, all I did was I removed the shims from here, nothing else. Well, and I moved the line a little bit, of course, up and down, but then now we don't have any shims or anything. It is just sitting on the lift. And look at that. Exactly 12 inches here. And here, from the differential mount down, we are at 10.75, which is 10.75. We need to be 10.7, right? So that tells me that now the datum line is exactly 12 inches under the line from the drawing, right? And so we said that this hole was 5.4 inches down from the original datum line, so it needs to be 6.6 up from our datum line that we just created, and this one was 5 inches down or 7 inches up from our new line. So let's measure. 6.6 here, right? And we are at exactly 6. Okay, that makes sense. So a little bit over ½ inch, this hole needs to go up. This one we said we're looking at 7, and here we are 6.25 or something. I'm sorry, my hands are shaking. Same thing here, 6 and 6.25. Looks like the rear end needs to go up by about ½ inch or 5/8. How can we do that? Oh, actually, let's measure that as well. I haven't measured this. I want to see how this affected us here. So this, we said now needs to be 3, and it's actually 3. A little bit less than a 3. And what about here? Here we said needs to be 2.5, and it is 2.75 here. I don't know how well you can see, but you should trust me. Yeah, 2.75. So these measurements are not really correct, but these measurements that we're calculating here are based on the thickness of the frame, and the thickness of the frame may vary, right? Yeah, it's 3 inches, but we don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna trust the datum line that we just created. So let's think about that now. That makes perfect sense now. The rear end of the frame needs to go up. But if we jack it up with the transmission jack, we're probably gonna jack up the whole frame. Well, it's gonna flex a little. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove all the shims from here. That's gonna give me room for the frame to move up. And then gently with the jack, with the transmission jack, we're gonna push up on the frame, and we're gonna see if that's gonna move up there. If that's gonna move, like we're gonna try just to flex the frame without lifting it off the pads on the lift. So for that we can measure down here, right? We can measure this measurement here, which is right now 2.75. So we're gonna try to see if we can lift the rear end up without that measurement changing. So just by removing the shims from here, that allowed the frame to go up. Like the body dropped down a little, but the frame also went up. Look, now we are at, I know you don't see, but we are 6.5. Let's turn the lights off again. That's 6.5. We were 6.25 before, and we are aiming at 7. So half an inch. No. Unfortunately, that's lifting the whole car. And strapping the frame to the lift is not going to help much because the arm has lash, right? It's going to lift the frame together with the arm of the lift, so it doesn't make sense. How do I flex it up? I need to load the whole body with heavy stuff. Wow, that wasn't the plan for today at all. But anyway, it is what it is. So yeah, you're right. What happens now is the body is mounted here. The body is mounted here. So we unmounted it here, but it's now almost touching here. So as soon as I raise the jack a little bit, that starts pushing on the body, which we don't want. So what we have to do is unbolt it from here, unbolt it from here. There on the front, I don't think we need to unbolt it. And then we might be able to raise the body only without the frame. And if we are able to do that and put more shims here just temporarily between the frame and the body, that's going to give us more room there and here for the frame to flex a little bit up. Plus, that's also explaining things why our measurements here and there don't match now, because our datum line is still not where it's supposed to be. Why? Because if the rear end is hanging down a little bit, it's hanging down from here. That's where it's pivoting, right? This means that even our differential mounts, which we are using as a reference, even they are dropped down a little bit. So if they raise up a little bit, then the rear of our datum line is going to raise as well. And then we're going to have this measurement here, 2.5 as well, what we were looking for, because there it was 3, but here it was, instead of 2.5, it was 2.75, right? So that tells me that yes, the rear end of the frame is sagging down. So I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to try to raise the body a little bit to give a little bit of room here in the back for the frame to flex. And then we're going to try again to flex it up and match all the measurements. And if we can't do that, then we're going to have to repair here anyways. So we might cut a little bit more than what we need, and we can bend the frame up. All right, I've been sitting here and thinking and thinking and sitting and sitting and thinking, and at some point I was sitting and sitting and sitting and not thinking anymore. So what I'm thinking is that there's no way that a weakness of the frame in this area is going to cause it to flex so much in the back. It's not possible. The flex must be from here. I mean, if it's anywhere further, then we have this shape around that is not going to allow this to bend. Then we have to bend the outside too, which is kind of impossible. Or is it? Maybe it is possible, because these pieces continue, and like we said, if we use this as a fulcrum here, if this part comes down, here in the center this is going to go up without this moving. So it's kind of possible that from here we have a weakness that is going to affect us. So what I'm thinking of doing is I'm gonna get rid of the shirt completely. We're gonna cut the rust from here, and if we have rust there, we're gonna cut it away too, and we're gonna weaken the frame as much as we can. Isn't that the point? We want to raise the rear end. So let's weaken it as much as we can while it is supported here in the back. I mean, it's even, we're gonna put all the weight here, remove the weight from here. That's gonna allow it to bend down in the middle, right? And bend this up. So if this is a weak spot, even better. We're gonna fix it with the rear end raised up, and hopefully it's gonna stay raised. So let's do that. But again, I'm gonna loosen the body in the meantime. I don't want the body to affect the frame right now, because the body and the frame form a rigid structure, right? Maybe the frame might be a little bit flexible, the body might be a little bit flexible, but when they're bolted to each other, they form a rigid structure, just like a unibody, right? Even here, when the frame is separate, it might flex. The body, when it is separate, it might flex. But when they're bolted here, now they provide support for each other. Now they can't twist anymore. Anyway, I'm gonna raise the body from here with few more shims, so we can give room for the frame, like we give space here and there for the frame to flex. Okay. So I loosened all the body mounts, and the body automatically, actually, the rear end raised. And look at that gap here. That's exactly how much we need to raise the frame. Let's try that again. Let me turn the laser on, reconfirm all the measurements. That's a little bit over 10 3/4. So it is not 10.7. This was supposed to be 10.7, now it's probably 10.8. This is still 12. Okay, so it's raised. Okay, that's normal then. So now our datum line is not correct. Yeah, I should raise the front end by 1/8 and then raise the whole datum line by 1/8, and that's gonna make everything perfect here. Okay. Just a smidge below 10.7, and that's 12. Okay, now our datum line is correct. Let's see what happened here with this. So that's still 3, and here that increased actually. That's 2 7/8 now. It was 2 3/4. Ah, you know what? I'm not gonna worry about that measurement. I don't like it, so I won't worry about it. But here we are 10.75. A little bit below 10.75, so 10.7. Good. Let's see how this affected here. 6.5. Yeah, that's where we were, right? So that didn't change a lot, but you know what? Let's try to raise the frame now and see if that's gonna start moving the body and everything right away, or we're gonna close this gap before we start moving the body. So anyways, I'm gonna stop with all the measurements. I don't want to get lost. I'm just gonna raise it a little bit to put some tension on it. It's still gonna be on the rear pads, but I want the main weight to be here on the jack. Now I'm gonna proceed with the repairs there, and once everything is repaired, we're gonna remove the jack from here, and we'll see if anything changed. But at least we're gonna repair it with tension put up in this area. Oh my God, such a mess. Ha! There's a t-shirt on the floor in pieces. That's how it had to come out. And this is what's underneath. I'm hoping that there's no more holes. Maybe there's one here, but let's see. We're gonna clean it up now. We're gonna needle scale everything again. We're gonna have to grind down all these welds on the side because I cut right next to the weld, but the weld is still there. Alright, so this is the situation. The needle scaler didn't go through the rest anywhere else other than this area, but over here it's very pitted too, so I think I'm gonna extend this weld, this patch all the way to here somewhere. This looks good, and same here. So this area looks good. Here again, it didn't go through, but if you look closely, it pushed in many areas. So this is telling me that these are very weak spots. Probably on the inside, this is rusted already and it's ready to go through. So we're gonna cut a big patch as well from here, all the way from here to there. Now that we are here, it's not worth just covering it with the other and just waiting for the disaster to happen again. We're gonna open it, and that's gonna give us also a chance to needle scale a little bit inside, rust convert, spray paint with bed liner maybe. Yeah, so let's do that. All right, so it is the next day and we made some progress. I just want to show you the situation, how the car is situated right now. So the rear is supported right here. So these are kind of in the air, you see, that one as well. So the whole support of the rear end of the whole entire car and frame is on the transmission jack. And here I have these rusted areas removed. I even started making the new ones now. I have this one ready and it is drilled for plug welds and painted inside the car. Let me see if I can grab it from here. Yeah, this one is ready. Even the back is painted, ready to be welded here. And I was just working on the other one. I was making this one, and then we're gonna rust convert and paint inside before we weld them. But I just have a little idea here. I think I'm gonna do something drastic because we wanted to weaken this area, right? So we can raise the rear end and bring this area a little bit down. So what if right now, as we are supporting the rear end, this means this is pushing up, this should be pushing down, shouldn't it? So what if we make a cut right here, not through the entire frame, but just up to here somewhere, maybe up to half an inch below the top end, just make a cut on both sides and both sides here and see if that is gonna open. If that opens, then we can tuck it in few places as it is in its open state, and then we can release the jack down and do the whole laser thing again and see if this hole here raised, because that was the goal, right? Because I think that's what's gonna happen next if we make those cuts. Yeah, I'm not sure if that helped. I mean, we still have a gap here. The cuts don't look V-shaped. Maybe I should try and put something heavy inside. Like lifting more with the jack doesn't make any sense because here we are off already, right? So this is what they look like. But what if I drop down? Yeah, let me drop down Okay, I'm doing it right now, so let's watch together. Okay, so now it is on the pads, and now the weight is completely off of the jack. Yeah, they did close a little. Okay, I'll put you on the tripod and I'm gonna lift again. And they definitely opened a little bit, but I want them to open more. Let's see if I can put my body weight somewhere here. Will that change anything? No, I'm too light. I need chef touch here. Okay, well, I'm sure it opened a little bit. So okay, so the line is back in, and we have exactly 1 foot here, exactly 1075 here, and I am extremely unhappy to report that we haven't done absolutely anything. I mean, okay, I don't know if you see the line here, but it is 6.5, exactly where we left it. And this one, 6.25, exactly where we left it. So, unfortunately, that didn't help much what we've done here. Now, don't get me wrong, we needed to do this repair anyways. I just wanted to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, but that didn't help a lot. But anyway, our structure is still not completed. We still need to close the frame here and put the t-shirt on. Maybe that's gonna make it more rigid. I doubt it, but we'll see. Anyway. All right, so made some progress. The 2 pieces are now welded, plug welded here. Everything is ground down. I also rust converted inside there, and I sprayed it with bed liner because it's gonna be much easier to do it now other than when we have the t-shirt here. I know that David is gonna have to clean and paint this frame at some point. So what's left now is to make a new t-shirt, which I have a little concern about, but let me show you what I mean. So here's the t-shirt, and you see what my concern is, right? It's ripped all over the place. It's not presentable enough. So, oh, that's the t-shirt, okay. This is the one that we're talking about. Okay, so seriously, my concern is we can do all this on the bead roller. The problem is that my bead roller might not be deep enough. Here we have 16 inches, and I don't remember how deep my bead roller is. Let's see. Actually, I'm probably wrong. It's 19 inches deep. Then we have more than enough room. Then, okay, everything is fine. We just need to change these to our newly made ones, the ones that we made recently. Okay, so let's prepare the piece. Okay, we have a t-shirt. So I didn't cut it based on this one. I measured and I drew and all that. This one we're gonna use only for the ribs, the direction and all that. But before we even draw them and before we even start making them, this time we're gonna go on the English wheel and we're gonna stretch the entire area inside. We're gonna leave just a little bit on the outside unstretched, because if we stretch that, we're just making the piece bigger. We want the inside to stretch so it bulges, and leave the outside tight so it keeps everything tight. And then when we make the ribs, everything is gonna come down. Now, this guy with this huge crown is not the most appropriate size. I'm just gonna go with it It's a little bit too aggressive, but it is what it is. Perfect. See, we can't straighten it. If we try to straighten it this way, here this lifts and this lifts, so we have a belly in the middle. So that's good. So that's the front of the shirt, if this is the belly. Okay, let's go draw the ribs and then run it on the bead roller. Okay, so for the ribs, this is what I made. A template that fits right inside the rib, so I can make one side at a time. And we're gonna use this for the distancing between them. For the width, so the longest one is 16 inches like we said. The short ones are 6.5. Okay. Okay, so I made a few tests here, and this is where this adjustment should be, but now we have to lift it, so we're gonna turn back 1, 2 turns, even more, 2.5. Not too bad. Well, I didn't meet it here perfectly, but next one. Okay, that's much better now. And you see how it becomes straight now. Well, maybe it still has a little bit of a curve this way. It's not too bad. And voila! I might have overstretched it a little bit. Here it is pretty much fine because we have this long rib, but I went here and stretched all the way here. I forgot that the ribs are only up to here. I thought they are almost until the end, like this one. So I stretched here, but I shouldn't have. And now you see we have a bulge here this way, and we have a bulge here the other way. So what we can do is shrink it back. That's actually not bad at all, right? So now we're gonna have to drill holes here for plug welds, because normally when this is installed from underneath, here we have the two frame rails, and inside somehow they welded it to the frame, like few small stitches. How did they do that? I don't know, because the top and the bottom plates are welded this way, so you can do one while the other one is out, but when you put the second one, how do you do that? So anyways, what we do usually when we replace shirts, we drill these plug welds here and we weld them from underneath. On the outside, of course, it is continuous stitch, and then we're gonna paint the inside and we're gonna weld it tomorrow, because today I'm kind of done. I'm tired. Okay, so that's one t-shirt completed. I'm not even gonna grind it. I mean, the plug welds don't look too bad, so I'm just gonna clean it and paint it. I ran out of bed liner, need to buy more, but I'm gonna clean it and paint it, and done. Nice and solid. Oh, I love above head welding. Everything is falling on my body and burning me to death. Anyways, I think there's one thing left, and that's to drop the transmission jack, put the laser back on, and see what we've done. I'm pretty sure nothing changed, but let's double check. All right, so we have the laser set up again, and maybe we made a little bit of an improvement. It's 6 5/8. I don't know if you see it. You see 6 5/8. It was 6.5, needs to be 7. So we are 3/8 lower, and here we are at pretty much the same, 6 and maybe 5/16. It was 6 1/4, and it needs to be 6.6. What should we say? 6 5/8. So we are about 3/8 lower on both holes here. Let's check the other side. Same here, exactly. Do you see it? 6 5/8 and 6 1/4 on this side. So, it is what it is. Turn off this laser so I don't blind myself. So we didn't achieve much, but again, that doesn't mean that we wasted our stone, because we wanted to kill two stones with one bird. but we killed one bird with one stone. Whatever, you know what I mean. So we didn't waste our stone. We threw it in the right direction. We killed one bird, but that's such a terrible example. I shouldn't use that. I don't like killing birds unless it's a turkey. Anyway, so what I'm saying is that we still had to repair that. So we did. The thing is, it didn't improve our situation here in the back, but I'm sure we're gonna figure out a way to normalize the gaps when the car is on the ground. And if the rear end hangs down a little bit and it opens the gap when the car is jacked up, well, it is what it is. It's gonna be like 60–70% of the other TR6s. I just wanted to make it like the 40% that don't hang when the car is jacked up. But we're gonna make sure that the gaps are perfect when the car is on the ground. But that's gonna happen in the next episode, when we're gonna start probably with finishing the differential mount that we were supposed to finish in this episode, but we somehow got sidetracked with that little hole that we started with, and we ended up with a huge repair on the frame. And what else is left? Here underneath we still have to weld nuts on the body mounts where they got ripped off, and I think that's everything for under the car. And then we're gonna go inside and we're gonna deal with those gaskets in front of the gas tank and all that. And then last but not least, we're gonna deal with the gaps. We're gonna reshim the body wherever we need to do. I have the feeling that, let me bring you on this side actually. I have the feeling that if we jack the frame up and then bolt the body, that's gonna make a difference, because you know, now the frame is like this and the body is like this, and if we bolt them together, they just pull towards each other. The frame flexes up, the body flexes down, and they form a rigid structure that is with this shape. But what if instead of just bolting them together, we jack the frame from underneath and push the body up with it and then bolt them? Then they're gonna form a rigid structure that is with this shape, not with this shape. You know what I mean? And if the body stays like this, then the B-post is gonna tilt forward a little bit and it's gonna close that gap. My only concern is that everything that's gonna keep that structure in this shape is this bolt here. And this one bolt, is it gonna be solid enough? Is it gonna be strong enough to keep it in this shape? Or on the first pothole it's gonna just slip and bring it back to this shape? I don't know. Well, we will see. Anyways, it's gonna be part of the next video. This one we're gonna end here. It's becoming pretty long and we haven't even done what we started in the very beginning of the video. So we're gonna end it here, and I'm gonna continue with the differential repairs right away because it is still morning here. I have half a day to finish that. So maybe by the end of the day today, I'm gonna be done underneath and I'm gonna start assembling the car. So thank you guys for watching, commenting, subscribing, sharing, and supporting the channel financially and morally, and with parts and tools and everything that you guys donate. It's really, really appreciated. Gives me the ability to sit down in the office and spend a few hours for every video, editing it and making it a little bit more interesting for you. Sometimes they are boring, sometimes they're more interesting, sometimes they show successful tricks. In this case, we weren't very successful. At least we learned that the sag on the frame doesn't come from the t-shirt area. It is probably from right here in the back. And how can that be reinforced? I have no idea. I mean, David Tashingham, Mr. Chef Tash, had his frame reinforced on his TR250 by adding gussets from this tower here for the shocks and the differential to the front area of the frame, but for that you need to make cuts in the body here inside, and that makes it a little bit more complicated. But anyways, it's a different topic that we're gonna discuss another time. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.